Speaks edition of World Today, where we'll be talking about the worst conflict and tensions that we're seeing and witnessing between Israel and Palestine, causing instability in West Asia and putting the Abraham Accords at risk. Also in the show, Nepal's instability, toppling of the government, and what is to come next. And COVID-19 update with an independent panel saying that the international community and countries need to take bold actions. Even during the worst pandemic, there is a war brewing in West Asia, with Israel and Palestine on a war path. The international community is monitoring the situation. United Nations Security Council called for 2 emergency meetings, and there are more to follow, all asking for the violence to stop, status quo to be maintained, and areas of Sheikh Jarrah, Silvan neighborhood, and the Temple Mount, where the Israeli forces are now present, be moved out of those areas. It is important that Israel and Palestine maintain peace, else the entire West Asia could face instability. Amid the blame game, the big question is, will the international community, will the global community be able to play peace broker?
Residents and shop owners in Gaza City walk among the rubble and what's left of their homes and shops. Arab and Jewish mobs have been rampaging through the streets in towns across Israel, savagely beating people and torching cars.
بالمحل هذا زي ما انت شايف الاضرار كبيره يعني جراء قصف فرج الشروق يعني والاضرار في المنطقه كلها كبيره يعني ومش عارفين ايش بدنا نحكي يعني هذا اول يوم العيد يعني قدر الله وما شاء فعل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل وربنا ينتقم اليهود ان شاء الله. فبأي حديث بعده يؤمنون.
On the first day of Eid al-Fitr, thousands of Palestinian Muslims gathered at the Al-Aqsa compound. It was a somber Eid celebration followed by week-long violence in Jerusalem that has spilled over to Gaza.
نحن في غزة وفي فلسطين في عموم فلسطين لا نشعر بفرحة هذا العيد بسبب هذا العدوان المدمر التي قامت به قوات الاحتلال على غزة وعلى أهل فلسطين بصورة عامة.
Israeli airstrikes have struck around 600 targets inside Gaza's. The death toll has gone up to 70 Palestinians, including children and women. Islamic Jihad has confirmed the deaths of 7 militants, while Hamas acknowledged that a top commander and several other members were killed. Israel claims that the number of militants killed is much higher than Hamas has acknowledged. Meanwhile, Gaza militants continue to bombard Israel with non-stop rocket fire.
Like almost all the media offices are in this tower, along with Al Jawhara Tower, which was directly targeted yesterday. As you can hear now, the raids are directly targeting the tower. Just a while ago as well. I'm sorry again. Oh my God, yes, I need to go down.
اطلع من الهواء اطلع. ايه كملي.
I can't. If you can hear me, I can't. We're going to direct the camera now towards the explosions. Yes, I've directed the camera now towards the explosion. This is a Shroq tower that has been brought down.
The attacks brought life to a standstill in southern communities near Gaza, but also reached as far north as the Tel Aviv area. The latest outburst of Middle East violence has reached deeper into Israel than any since the 2000 Palestinian Intifada or uprising.
אזרחי ישראל, מה שקורה בערי ישראל בימים האחרונים הוא בלתי נסבל. אנחנו ראינו פורעים ערבים, מציתים בתי כנסת, מציתים מכוניות, מסתערים על שוטרים, פוגעים באזרחים שלווים וחפים מפשע. זה דבר שאנחנו לא יכולים לקבל אותו, זה אנרכיה. שום דבר לא מצדיק את זה, ואני אגיד לכם יותר מזה. שום דבר לא מצדיק לינץ' של ערבים ביהודים, ושום דבר לא מצדיק לינץ' של יהודים בערבים. אנחנו לא נקבל את זה. זה לא אנחנו. לא האלימות הזאת, לא הפראות הזאת. אנחנו נחזיר את השלטון ואת המשילות לערי ישראל בכל מקום, בכל הערים. בערים מעורבות, בערים יהודיות, בכל מקום.
De-escalation is an absolute must to protect the lives of civilians that are now dying in totally unacceptable circumstances.
My national security staff and defense staff has been in constant contact with their counterparts in the Middle East, not just with the Israelis, but also with everyone from the Egyptians to the Saudis to the Emiratis, etc. And I had a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu not too long ago. I'll be putting out a statement very shortly on that. My expectation and hope is that this will be closing down sooner than later. But Israel has a right to defend itself when you have thousands of rockets flying into your territory. But I had a conversation for a while with the Prime Minister of Israel, and I think that my hope is that we'll see this coming to conclusion sooner than later.
После того, как произошли вот события последних дней, они еще, к сожалению, продолжаются, гибнут люди с обеих сторон, опять продолжаются односторонние действия, избегать которых призывал неоднократно Совет Безопасности и квартет международных посредников. Мы сегодня, по-моему, так пришли к общему мнению, что наиболее острой задачей является созыв квартета международных посредников России, Соединенные Штаты, ООН и Евросоюз.
While the international community debates and tries to bring the warring parties back from the brink, dozens of mourners marched through the streets of the Gaza Strip carrying the bodies of an 11-year-old boy and his 13-year-old cousin killed the previous day after an Israeli airstrike hit near their homes.
The United Nations Security Council is going to meet to discuss the situation in Palestine. It is a very grim situation. The Palestinians facing live rockets firing from across from Israel. I'm being joined by a Palestinian artist, Malik Matar, who is in Gaza, which is where the entire firing and the conflict is taking place. Malik, a very grim situation, serious situation. Lives have been lost. We know that you are in the midst. You're living exactly where we've seen missile attacks. Explain to us the situation.
Well, the situation is, the least I can say, it's a crisis. What's going on is a massacre that's being taken against the Palestinian people. The attack started 4 days ago, and so far over 100 people have been killed and hundreds of people get injured. We're speaking about non-stop bombings. We are speaking about weapons that have been used this war, not the other wars. This is the fourth war that I'm living, and I could say that this war is the worst. The situation is beyond. It's beyond anything that I can put in words. Actually, tonight, I didn't know how I survived. It was the time I felt like I'm really losing my life. Now I'm in a place that is targeted. It's Western Gaza, where residential buildings are being demolished. And it's happening in different parts of the Gaza Strip.
Malik, now let's just talk about what happened on Jerusalem Day, attack on the Temple Mount. Now, there is a lot of blame game that is on. We have heard from Israeli authorities that the provocation was from Hamas and that they were not even involved in the attack. What do you have to say about the blames that we see, the blaming that is going on? But also, more importantly, what is the most important right now, Malik, is to discuss solution to the crisis. Where do you see a solution to this crisis?
First of all, during the month of Ramadan, like hundreds of families in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, in Sheikh Jarrah, they were forced to leave their homes so that other Israeli settlers will stay in these houses. So it was an ethnic cleansing, and it still is. Still, families, including Al-Kurd family, are facing evictions from their homes, which is a violation because people have the right to stay in their homes, in their houses. There have been Palestinians were banned from entering and praying in Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's not a temple, it's Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holy, like the most holy place in Palestine. And there should be a protection for such a holy place for us as Muslims and for all people. Like the situation in all Palestine and the occupied Palestinian territories is on fire. So the solution would be a stop for this war crime. And there should be like international the international law should interfere. The United Nations should put an end for what's going on. There shouldn't be any silence because what's going on is beyond what I can put on words.
Many thanks for joining us and sharing your experience and your thoughts with us here on India Today. Thank you. Welcome back to World Today. Now, the world is trying to find ways out of the COVID mess. Government agencies, independent bodies, all are coming up with recommendations to contain the outbreak. While there are some who are suggesting that bold actions need to be taken by governments of various countries, there are others who are questioning the vaccine distribution policy itself in the wake of a surge during the second wave.
The second wave of COVID-19 is taking a toll the world over.
And hello to wherever you are listening to us.
A World Health Organization appointed panel has urged bold actions to end this ongoing crisis, while also calling for the UN agency to be given greater authority to respond more quickly to future threats.
February was a wasted month. Despite clear warnings, far too many countries believed it would not affect them, and they adopted, in effect, a wait-and-see approach.
Along with major criticism over nations ignoring early warnings, the panel raised the issue of hoarding of COVID-related critical medical supplies.
That wasted month of February meant that health systems became overwhelmed as the disease spread rapidly. Time had run out for many countries to avert COVID-19 having a major impact on them. There was also a global winner-takes-all scramble to secure the personal protective equipment, the therapeutics, and other supplies required. Too many countries, including some of the wealthiest, devalued the emerging science.
The independent panel issued its findings and recommendations after an 8-month review of lessons learned from the past year, which found the leadership absolutely lacking.
This was compounded by a lack of global leadership and coordination, with geopolitical tensions and nationalism weakening the multilateral system, which was designed to keep the world safe.
Quicker action could have saved the day and many lives. The panel also advised high-income countries with adequate vaccine supply to commit to provide at least 1 billion doses to the 92 low and middle-income countries in the UN-led Equitable Vaccine Scheme. India, Nepal, Sri Lanka in the Indian subcontinent is going through the worst second wave of the pandemic. Many other nations are closing down borders. Hard-won gains were lost in the past months when countries became lackadaisical in their approach of tackling the virus and the crisis and let their guards down.
Any decline is welcome, but we had been here before. Over the past year, many countries have experienced a declining trend in cases and deaths, have relaxed public health and social measures too quickly, and individuals have let down their guard, only for those hard-won gains to be lost.
While the global community has many hard lessons to learn, vaccine is an area where sovereign decisions continue to trump global good. Despite calls to avoid vaccine nationalism, countries have indulged in procurement and stockpiling, while many others are left wanting. In a recent turn of events, the European Union is taking AstraZeneca to court for delay in deliveries of the COVID vaccine.
So first, as far as the legal case is concerned against AstraZeneca, what we're asking is something that has not changed over time. We have asked from the beginning the speedy delivery of a sufficient number of doses, those that European citizens are entitled to, and doses that are due on the basis of the contract.
This would be the second lawsuit against a vaccine maker after it massively under-delivered on promised COVID-19 doses. The date for the hearing has now been set on the 26th of May. A verdict on the first case is expected before the end of June, whereas the second case on the merits of the matter will last at least until next year.
The second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc in the Indian subcontinent. Nepal is facing the worst surge in recent times, and what is complicating matters more is the political instability it faces. KP Sharma Oli lost the trust vote, and with that, there is no government in place at this point in time that can really take care and navigate through this extremely complicated situation.
It's a difficult time in Nepal. The pandemic rages fast and furious. Nepal added 9,483 cases and 255 deaths of COVID-19 in 24 hours on 12th May. Both are single-day records since the epidemic started in this Himalayan country. By the end of April, the country imposed complete lockdown, but the figures continue to rise in the second week of May.
अहिले हालको स्थिति हेर्दाखेरि कुनै पनि अस्पतालमा कोभिड ट्रिट गरिरहेको पेशेन्ट्सहरुको कुनै पनि कतै पनि हस्पिटलमा बेड्सहरु अवेलेबल छैन. बेड्स अवेलेबलै भयो भने पनि अक्सिजनको यस्तो ठुलो स्केर्सिटी भइसक्यो कि एक्स्ट्रा पेशेन्ट्स लिनलाई अक्सिजनको सप्लाई इज गोइङ टु बी अब त्यसमा मेजर प्रब्लम. यसले हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामी अहिले पिक पनि पुगेको छैनौं भनेपछि यो सिचुएसन चाहिँ अझै वर्सन हुँदै जान्छ र अझै नराम्रो हुँदै जाने स्थिति चाहिँ देखिन्छ.
We are under prepared, under resourced and under capacitated to perform anything that is expected. Even if we wait now for next 15 days, we are going to see the surge, and actually a fallback will happen on a backlog of the cases which will be there.
At this moment of crisis, Nepal needed a strong and stable government. But the political turmoil in the country reached its peak on 10th May as the Kharga Prasad Oli government failed the floor test in the parliament.
प्राप्त गर्न राख्नु भएको प्रस्तावको पक्षमा उक्त संख्या प्रतिनिधि सभामा तत्काल कायम रहेको सम्पूर्ण सदस्य संख्याको बहुमत नभएकोले सम्माननीय प्रधानमन्त्री श्री केपी शर्मा ओलीले प्रतिनिधि सभाबाट विश्वासको मत प्राप्त गर्न राख्नु भएको प्रस्ताव अस्वीकृत भएको घोषणा गर्दछु.
Nepal had 8 different governments in the last 1 decade. In the face of the worst COVID-19 surge, with acute shortages of health facilities and oxygen for patients, political turmoil has destabilized this country. The caretaker government isn't in a position to make major decisions to bring the country through the crisis.
मुलुकको सबभन्दा ठुलो दुश्मन भनेको चाहिँ कोरोना हो, कोभिड-19 हो। अरु कुनै पनि दुश्मन छैन। त्यो दुश्मनसँग युद्ध गर्नुको निमित्त चाहिँ राष्ट्र एकाकार हुनुपर्ने हुन्छ। सबै शक्ति मिलेर त्यसको उसमा जानुपर्ने हुन्छ।
Kharga Prasad Oli became Prime Minister in 2018 with strong support from 2/3 of Parliament. But two splits in his ruling party this year pushed him out of the office in less than 3 years of the election. Right now, no political party has a majority, and it's very unlikely that there would be a coalition government in Kathmandu anytime soon.
That's all in this edition of World Today. Thank you for watching. News and updates do continue on the other side. Stay tuned to India Today.